Xin chào mọi người. Thank you so much for having me today to the TED team, TEDx Talk team. Just by the way, before I start, I want everyone to know that it's such a pleasure to be here in the hometown of my parents. Both my father and my mother were born in Hue. I grew up and was born in the US, but I feel like I am home because a lot of the people, the way we speak, the way we are, reminds me of my upbringing as a child. And so I am here today too to learn from you guys and see, fulfill my own curiosity about Hue. So thank you so much. Today's talk is called Resilient Systems, Resilient People. I gave a version of a similar discussion just 1 week ago. I was invited to speak at a company offsite. So this company, it's a Swiss company from Switzerland. It's called Roche. It's a pharmaceutical company. They employ about 100 full-time staff in Ho Chi Minh. Almost everyone is Vietnamese. They all speak English. They all are well educated. And they all make pretty good money. They're scientists, they're salespeople, researchers. And the country manager shared me an interesting problem that he had, which was that his staff, even though they were confident in English, they had trouble working with their global colleagues from Singapore, colleagues from Zurich, Switzerland. This was a new challenge his company and team was facing because they didn't feel very confident speaking to these people. And today I introduced that story because I feel like sometimes when I work with my young team at Vietcetera, or sometimes when I speak with my mother about how she feels about Hue and where it is today, I hope that my insights can help you understand what you can do to improve your own mindset and confidence, not wait for somebody else. So first, I start with this. Who knows my real name? Which one is my real name? Is it number one? Who thinks it's number one? Okay, nobody. Number two? Okay, number three? Okay. So it's number three, it's Hao. So the story about how I discovered my name, I will share right now. My parents, when I was younger, so I lived in the United States until I was 23, they called me Gong, child. And when I grew up in the US, I lived in a neighborhood where only Mi Trắng. There was no người Việt Nam, just my parents. I had some family, they would come visit on the weekend, eat dinner. They'd call me Gong as well. So I never actually heard my name. It was only Gong. So the first time that I moved to Vietnam, so I had traveled to Vietnam 2 times before I chose to move to Vietnam in 2016. I have my passport, but my passport does not put Hao, it puts Hao, H-A-O. Because in the US passport, they don't allow the Ohai, they don't allow the accent marks. So I enter through Tan Son Nhut and I present my credential, my passport. And the immigration officer, he gives me a bit of a hard time. He says, "What's your name?" Hao. Long. What is your Vietnamese name? And I could not tell him because I did not know my Vietnamese name. And so when I entered through immigration and I was in the taxi, I called my mother and asked her, "What is my name?" And she said, "Gong, your name is Hao." And from that point on, I called myself Hao when I presented my credentials to people I would meet. It could be you, it could be my partner at work, it could be a coworker. I am now Hao. And this was a very big change because before living in the United States, we were conditioned to be American. And I was never curious enough to discover what was my actual real name. And from that point forward, this was 8 years ago, I have now step by step become more proud of being Vietnamese. This applies to Hue as well, because when I moved to Vietnam, how many people know this book? Okay, like 10, 20%. So you should read this book. It's written by my family member. She is my great aunt. Her name is Xuân Phương. She's 95 years old. She's a very well-spoken lady, very traditional Hue. She lives in Saigon now. She's coming next month, though. I will come with her back to Hue next month because we're shooting a film series here in Hue with her on Vietcetera. And she was one of the first people I met in Vietnam. I remember I asked my mother, who are some people I should meet? And she said to meet this one aunt, one great aunt of mine. And when I would sit down with her for tea, she has this art gallery in Saigon. I remember I would start speaking to her in Vietnamese. She speaks English as well. And she would get so frustrated with me. She's like, Hao, your Vietnamese is so bad. The next time I see you, I hope you become better. And little by little, I became better at learning and speaking Vietnamese with her. And now she's very proud. But why I give this example was because in each time I would meet her, I would discover something new about Vietnam or Hue and feel little by little more confident about my own identity. And to the point where I became so proud of being from Hue, or at least my family from Hue, that at any point I decided that I wanted to be an ambassador for Hue, and an ambassador for Vietnam, where I would represent as CEO of my company. I meet with a lot of international people. I meet with ambassadors, I meet with CEOs, and I feel I don't have to say anything. I just know that as the ambassador of my company and of Vietnam, I must come with confidence. I must come with a mindset that confidence, there is nothing only but confidence. And I want you and everyone in this room to feel the same. Because going back to the story of that company, Roche, the country manager who asked me about this problem he had, was that I noticed we as Vietnamese sometimes feel like we have to hide our identity, hide ourselves when we go out there because somehow we feel inferior, have this inferiority complex. The world is such a better place out there. Why Vietnam? But actually, let's use that to our advantage. We know something about them, but they don't know about us. So we must use that to our advantage. So I want to share a few statistics that are quite interesting, just on the face value, that should give you confidence, but also some pride in being Vietnamese. We read the news all the time that Vietnam is this amazing country, everyone wants to invest, everyone wants to do business here. And here's why. Vietnam has 1 million new 18-year-olds every year. And these 18-year-olds will be buying motorbikes, laptops, phones, choosing where to study, choosing where to go travel abroad for the first time. And these are very powerful societal changes. And this is why the world looks to Vietnam as the next place to do business. So we are the next generation of global citizens. The next statistic is that, and as many of you know, almost nearly every young Vietnamese person today is learning English. Some are not the best, but they're learning. And this also is a powerful, powerful indication of us becoming a global power. Vietnam. I don't have a statistic for the next one. I just read it yesterday. Vietnam is the number 5th largest country in the world to have the most number of middle class this year. It'll be approximately 4 million. 4 million new people will enter the middle class. They will have money and resources and desire to make more for their family. And this is a very powerful number. Only China and India have more, Indonesia, Brazil. Their populations are very large, by the way. Vietnam is 100 million. China is 1 billion, more than 1 billion. So with that said, there's the numbers that make this country so exciting. And you are all at the beginning of this. But at the same time, we must remember that we are ambassadors of Vietnam. And for you, Hue in this case. And so when we present our credentials to somebody, we must have confidence. You must shake people's hand with confidence. You must see them in the eye, because that's all we have and what you can do to represent us. And an interesting fact about this too is that they may not know us, but we know them. And I want to go back to the story of that company, the Swiss company. I've heard on TikTok nowadays to go to Switzerland is like a cool thing. They have the trains and they have the mountains and it looks so nice. So we as Vietnamese know and feel like Switzerland is cool. And so the people must be cool as well. And they are very cool. But we are too. But yet the world does not understand this place. So the best that you can do is to make sure you present your credentials well. And my last statement about this is that for us as a growing nation, as a growing people, we have gone through difficult times, of course, but the future looks very bright, is that we have nothing to lose, only to gain. And I think this particular room of young, ambitious, curious Hue people, knowing the numbers that I just shared with you, and knowing that we can control our own mindset, nobody needs to control ours, that we actually have nothing to lose. Most of you speak English, probably everybody, and probably you will be making more money than your parents will, at some point, if not already. That alone means that you have nothing to lose. So again, when you present your credentials, when you meet people for the first time, come with confidence. And when you build the system of yours, this mindset, not only will it be resilient, but you will be as well for the future of Vietnam in this global world. Thank you. Yeah.